Well, it's Saturday the 15th of February, and this is episode 2502 of 301 Permanently Moved Online, a personal podcast 301 seconds in length, written, recorded, and edited by me, at the JMO. Lately, I've been thinking about online identity, and I realise I've always seen email as a destination. I first came to this position in primary school around 1995. The school had just got a new computer lab, and part of the lesson involved sending an email to one another at adjacent desks. I found the whole exercise a bit pointless due to a blunt literalism. What was so exciting about sending a message to someone sitting a few seats away? I totally misunderstood the promise of the global information highway. But the idea of sending a message from A to B stuck with me. An address isn't an identity, but a destination. As an emo kid on MSN, my first Hotmail address looked like song_lyric_connected_by_underscores. And during the 2000s, recruiters told me this was very unprofessional when I applied for jobs. And I found this feedback puzzling. It never occurred to me that an email address could be part of my public persona, a reflection of me. It was just where messages landed, like a home address for letters. As a tween, I had a Yahoo address, which, when Yahoo forced its vanity URL restructuring on GeoCities, meant that the Star Trek fanfiction I'd written with a friend became connected to me, which, as you can imagine, was mortifying. It clued me in, though, that there was a platform tendency to centralise and connect identities. So I deleted both the site and my Yahoo address in protest. I switched to Gmail in 2006, a nice clean slate. Mindful of my Hotmail experience, I picked 3 words separated by full stops. A pun that only gets its punchline if someone asks me about the combination of words. A small joke that 20 years later still has its punchline once or twice a year. It doesn't represent me, though, in any way. Over time, I noticed that many people treat email like an identity, so I keep separate accounts for personal and professional use. Still, I've never been any of them. They're letterboxes, not personas. Speaking of letterboxes, everyone who supports this show gets a personal email from me when I send them their first zine. If you want a zine and an email, sign up at thejmo.net/zine. These deep geologic email experiences, however, have influenced how I've approached online identity ever since. An email simply grants access to a different identity in code space. There are 3 layers: email, handle, and screen name. Back on MSN, it was my screen name that represented me. A phrase or a song lyric, maybe the date of my punk band's next upcoming gig. A piece of moody poetry that captured my adolescent angst. Like I said, I was an emo kid. My screen name felt like me, and I would update it all the time. The email behind it was the destination or identifier, not an identity. I've always changed my screen name frequently on apps, far more than my peers, which has confused Twitter followers over the years. But my handle, at the JMO, has stayed constant. It feels different from an email address, right? My screen name, at the JMO, is the public, persistent identity that I've chosen for myself. It came about in the 2000s when I was 17 and on tour with my band. I played a lot of Pokemon, and my bandmates started calling me J-Mo for Monster. At some point, I said, "It's the J-Mo to you," and then I joined MySpace, and the rest, as they say, is history. For years, I kept my offline self, J Springett, separate from my online persona. I never shared my face online throughout the aughts. Eventually, however, with smartphones and social media, that became impossible, so I gave up even on pseudo-anonymity. I tell you what though, one of the sharpest lessons I ever learned about the bleed between digital and physical identity was as a teenager, well before social media even existed. When I was 16, I saw someone get glassed and badly injured in a pub over something they'd said on the local punk forum. Chat shit online, get banged. And since then, basically, for all of my adult life, I've been cautious about what I post online. What we say online has the power to affect how we are treated in person. And it's something that I've always been super mindful of, which has sort of resulted in At the JMO being a character I play or a puppet that I bring to life online. A curated version of myself, a brand called you, which means that people have formed all sorts of impressions of the JMO from different angles. Some people have never visited my website or even seen a photo of me, but listen to this show all the time. I've been recognised simply by my voice at conferences before, plus there's the video version on YouTube, so there's a handful of you who only know me via that medium and in that context. And then there's the voice of my writing on the blog. Often, when people meet me in real life for the first time, many people comment on how tall I am IRL. I don't think At the JMO gives off short king energy, but what do I know? Ultimately though, we're more than just our digital identifiers or addresses, and people forget that behind every screen name, there's a real person, one who might be even taller than you think.